And if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to take questions from anybody on any of these topics or any of the any topics on immigration they didn't get to.
Are there any?
Yeah, are there any? Well, no, yeah, there's plenty of topics we didn't get to. If anybody has any questions, yeah, if you could identify yourself to your office anyway.
I'm James Maisel with Congressman Jim Bridenstine's office. Question for Stephen. Can you talk a little bit more about the refugees and asylees? How many, what are we treaty bound to accept from a refugee and asylum standpoint, and what do we, what is just sort of U.S. policy, things that we and also the issue of temporary protected status, which is in the Adderhold bill, not in his amendment, but in his bill. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think I'll let Jessica answer the thing on refugees and asylees. Where's the treaty obligation? Go ahead.
Refugees are people who are admitted directly from their home country or from another place that they've been resettled to temporarily, and those numbers are arrived at according to global needs and in connection with the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees through agreed upon programs that exist worldwide, and we decide how many we can take, and they're resettled through a special program. Asylees are people who arrive here and ask for political asylum, and this is one area of the law one area of immigration that has exploded in recent years, because in 2009 the Obama administration suspended some of the regulations that had been in place for many years to try to prevent people from trying to file frivolous asylum claims in order to be issued a work permit and benefit from being able to spend several years, 5 years here, until their case could be decided upon, and then they can appeal it and so on and so forth. So right now the policy is that people, as soon as they're apprehended, are allowed to, they're allowed to express a fear of being returned to their home country, and in more than 90% of the time the asylum officer or Border Patrol agent or whoever hears that claim, they're told to accept it. And if people are in detention, the administration has set up what they call Know Your Rights presentations, where if they didn't know to express a fear of return when they were first apprehended, they are informed that that's an option for them while they're in detention, and typically they are released and eventually get a work permit. I'm told that in Arizona, as one part of the country where they're seeing a lot of this, they're getting court dates in about 2020 now for their case, for the first hearing before the judge, before any appeals would happen. So there has been considerable abuse, and we can pretty much trace it to the fact that people are basically allowed to come in and say, make a claim, say, I'm afraid to be returned home, even though, they shouldn't. They've come through other countries on their way here often, particularly in case of Central America. They've come through Mexico and maybe Guatemala and did not make a claim there. They arrive here, we take their word for it and say, come back. Many times they simply disappear into the woodwork.
Can I add to that? We have a treaty obligation under the Geneva Convention to have an asylum system, to not return someone to a country where they will be persecuted by the state on the 5 grounds: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and social group. That's what's in the international treaty. So that's our obligation, to not return someone to where they will be persecuted. We do not have an obligation to, an international obligation. We have kind of a moral obligation in some ways, but to take in a certain number of refugees. We have always been very generous in our refugee policy, perhaps too generous. And again, that's an area where we should be looking at who we're bringing here and why. Because the State Department has just committed the United States to taking in 70,000 Syrians over the next 5 years. These are going to be Muslims, because the only refugee resettlement camps that were taking people from our Muslim camps. They don't allow Christians in, even though Christians are being massively persecuted. So 70,000 Muslims will be resettled in a community near you, and you don't get any choice. And Americans are not happy about this because they tend to lump together, because once a group is resettled in a particular area, they can bring their family members over. We don't know who their family members are. We don't have any kind of terrorist or criminal data from Syria. We don't have the slightest idea who these folks are. All we know is that the UN said that they were really nice people. On temporary protected status in the Adderholt bill, what essentially he is trying to do in that bill is limit the president's ability to continue to abuse the temporary protected status program, because no country that has been designated for TPS has ever been ended for TPS. None, not one. Every single country that gets TPS, those nationals are here for decades. And we still have yet to see a program terminated where those folks are actually expected to go home. So this is not a temporary program. Obama could theoretically designate the 3 Central American countries as TPS. Give all those children and family units who came across the border over the summer TPS. And there's nothing that Congress can do because Congress limited its own ability to control that program. So.
The TPS thing, the one thing I was going to add is that there actually was one instance of a TPS designation lapsing, which was Liberia, but after 20 years of constant renewals, but all they did was immediately change the initials from TPS to DED, and they're all still here anyway.
Right.
So not a single person who has ever gotten TPS has ever been made to leave because that TPS expired, ever. And TPS was actually designed, Congress invented it in 1990 specifically to rein in the presidents before that, who had used various other bureaucratic initials and designations as a way of avoiding enforcement of immigration laws. The problem is that hasn't succeeded, and so it needs to be tightened up even more. Because, frankly, the president could designate Mexico as the Mexicans would have to request TPS, and he could just literally legalize everybody and do it in a lawful way and get away with it, and then where would we be? Any other questions? It's after 10 o'clock now. I want to respect people's time. I appreciate everybody coming. All of our information, Center for Immigration Studies, is online at cis.org. Numbers is on at numbersusa.com. And we're here to be accosted afterwards, at least I am, a few of us are, if you want to talk. Thank you very much.